Hey guys, this is Jose, the editor. Just a quick note, this episode was filmed in a noisy apartment, so the first couple minutes are gonna have a little bit of background noise. If that bothers you, you can skip ahead to about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Thank you for understanding and enjoy the podcast.
Welcome back again.
What is up, you guys?
We are back again with another episode of our Battle of the Bands podcast.
Definitely the first take.
Yeah, right.
I'm having flashbacks from the first episode, but
and in
it's
this
fine.
episode, what are we talking about? We got our second official battle. All right. Who are you representing today?
well, I'm representing Panic at the Disco.
All right. And I'll be representing my favorite duo, 21 Pilots. All right.
Are they still a duo after a Level of Concern video?
That's interesting. Yeah, I never really realized that.
We'll get into that later.
But yeah, anyways, so I guess we should talk about why are we talking about these two bands? Why?
Why?
Yeah, I think we
why the pairing or why specifically individually the bands?
just like why this pairing in general. I think for us, I think these are both bands that we both love.
Yeah, that's true. And I think they both kind of fit into that whole of like the whole alternative
Emo, pop punk.
mall scene, the hot topic bands.
Throw in Paramore, My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, All Time Low.
Yeah, all those mall scene kids with
Yeah.
with the belts with the checkers on it. You know what I'm talking about.
And the
studs.
straight hair. All that.
Oh, the fringe.
Yeah.
All the fringe, dude. All the fringe.
I don't know, it's so funny because like I listened to all those bands, but I never like really dressed like that. I was never like into like that whole eyeliner stuff. I don't know. That just wasn't my thing. But I freaking love all the music from all those bands. You know, were you ever into that? Did you ever dress up like that?
I didn't dress like that necessarily. During that era, I was very confused. I kind of had like an identity crisis. I wasn't sure what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
I had like, dude, I had a faux hawk at one point.
You never told me that.
Well, you don't, you're finding out now on the podcast.
All right, this is great.
You're finding out now.
Thank God we're doing a second take.
Dude, I hope my audio isn't peaking. I can't see. Anyways, like, yeah, I love all those bands.
Yeah.
Obviously,
All right.
we're talking about it, but we'll get into that.
Yes, so moving on.
I think something that we should talk about since it's the first episode of 2021. What did you think was one of the more prominent music or one of the more prominent songs to come out of 2020 during the height of quarantine?
Well, for those who are just checking in with us now,
What does the first take? What are you talking about?
well, for me personally, it's definitely Level of Concern by 21 Pilots. It's gonna be pretty redundant talking about 21 Pilots, but yeah, I feel like Level of Concern is the quarantine song. Like,
It was pretty much the sound of quarantine. I mean, it was the epitome of it because they shot that music video by themselves too.
yeah, and honestly, I don't know like a song that like where the lyrics are so heavily related or like influenced by the pandemic. I don't know another. Like,
I do have
pop-
another song that I love, but not a lot of people know of it because I feel like not a lot of people listen to this band. The band I'm talking about is MXPX. MXPX, a great band. They were like around in the 90s, 2000s.
Yeah, for sure.
If you haven't seen the pop punk episode, go check that out. By the way, we are live on Instagram. If you don't know,
at Battle of the Bands podcast.
go follow us when we record every episode. We'll go ahead and go live. And yeah, you can interact with us. We might read your comment. We might not. Who knows? But, you know, every now and then I'll glance over and see.
No one's
So-
requesting to go live with us, are they?
What?
No one's requesting to go live with us.
No, that'd be pretty funny though.
Oh.
But so anyways, MXPX, they released a song called Worries. And it's really about like it's about the them in quarantine, about how like the isolation is like taking effect on
Okay.
my career and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's a good song. It's fun.
Did you have like a favorite song of 2020?
Probably Bloody Valentine.
Really, the MGK track?
Yeah, I really liked it. It was probably the most played, I would say. I mean, that came out late 2020, right?
I think like it was the summer.
Summer. So that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
Because it got played. I played it a lot for sure.
I still haven't checked out the entire album yet.
It's a good album. It's a solid album. I will say, if you're looking for originality, don't look there. But it's a good album.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the music video. It was cool seeing Megan Fox. I was like, oh, I haven't seen her on the screen in a while. But yeah.
I mean, they're dating, so.
Well, yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, 2020, I had like, I don't know. I just had so many. There's so many good tracks that came out. Like, I got to see like a lot of artists with their debut albums this year, like Biba Doobie, and oh man, Phoebe Bridgers came out with another album.
We're talking about this year?
Yeah, 2020.
Oh, last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I had to give it to like Razzmatazz, but I don't know how, but they found me.
That was a really prominent album, I would say.
It was a really strong. It was my favorite album of 2020, and it was a really strong debut album.
There was a lot of good albums. I can't really list them, but enough talking about the past.
Now let's go to the future, the present.
The present,
2021.
So, what was your favorite release from this year?
For me personally, 2021, I'm obsessed with like two songs right now. The first one being this song by the band Trash Boat. If you guys are not familiar with them, they are a punk rock, pop punk, emo band. The song that they came out with this year is called He's So Good. I think it's a really emotionally powerful song because the lyrics are they're pretty deep. Like they're pretty dark and intense as it talks about domestic abuse against LGBTQ kids growing up from their parents and how like they're like down upon it. And there's like, if you watch the music video, there's a lot of scenes of like images of like potential suicide. And it's just very dark and like emotionally like, hard hitting.
As far as sonically goes, like how would you describe it to anyone that doesn't know what that band is?
Oh, it's definitely like, they remind me of this other punk rock band called Boston Manor. It's like I know pop punk can be like pretty like light, but like for this style of pop punk, it's very heavy hitting. Like the instrumentals go hard.
Someone said, okay, now let's go to the future. What's your favorite song from 2023?
We'll get there. But yeah, and the other song I was thinking about was this is like one of my favorite bands I'm listening to right now. It's The Last Man on Earth by Wolf Alice. I freaking love Wolf Alice. I could always listen to them. But yeah, The Last Man on Earth is a new single. New album's coming out in June. But yeah, it's The Last Man on Earth is like this piano ballad song, and like and it just builds up. It builds up to this like really like beautiful, just like gorgeous vocals, instrumentals. Oh, it just absolutely delivers. And I'm just happy to see them return to the music scene, because they were supposed to come out with music last year, but then the whole pandemic and everything, so they took a little break. But now it was definitely worth the wait. Like, I'm just super happy to see Wolf Alice back again. But what about you?
My favorite, it's still early. So, I mean, I think one of my favorite things to come from this year so far, it kind of started last year, but Mike Shinoda, he started streaming on Twitch last year, and now he's like a Twitch savant. And he's released so much different kinds of music, like experimental stuff. He made like a Hybrid Theory style demo, a Menace to Midnight style demo, and now he's producing other people's tracks, which is crazy. In addition to that, he just released this track with Ian Dior and Upsal, I think is how you pronounce her name.
And then this solo stuff, it's definitely like more hip hop, right?
It's more hip hop. It's more Fort Minor styles tracks.
Are there any like rock influences, instruments, or just pure hip hop?
I mean, this is the first track he's released as far as like in his name, because the other ones were like just kind of messing around on Twitch kind of stuff. But this is like a real like a single. This is more, if you want to know what this one kind of sounds like, think about like Welcome by Fort Minor. If you probably haven't heard that song, but it's cool. Ian Dior, he's great. He's exploding everywhere. He was on that recent track with 24 Karat Golden. The
Bruno Mars song?
What? No. The Mood? No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
While
Mood.
You're Always in a Mood.
Yeah, that
I'm
one.
like,
The
yeah.
one that's playing all the time.
The one that reached number one on the rock and alternative Billboard charts.
Yeah, but
Oh.
the song with Mike Shinoda is actually playing on the radio. It's actually in the top 20.
Oh, nice.
Top 20, yeah. So
Good for
it's-
Mike Shinoda.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
up and coming artist.
All right. You ready? Is it time for the battle?
I believe it is time.
Okay. All right. So we before we shot this, we asked you guys on Instagram. We did a poll asking you guys like how you guys feel about certain categories. You know, like what do you think? Who wins when it comes to this kind of category? Or who do you feel edges out the other band on this category? And so now we're about to debate. Who knows if we're gonna be friends again or not after this?
I mean, we already did another one that was like this, so I mean, I think we'll be fine. But because I'm an adult, but we'll see.
But I
We'll
think
see.
these are two bands that we're really, really passionate about. Like, I am a big Top fan.
Yeah, I know you are.
And I
don't
know
have to
you're a
say it.
big Panic fan.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that as well. We'll see. We'll okay. I think the opening question was, who has the better discography? And I think the general consensus was 21 Pilots. Correct?
Oh yeah, let me check the poll. Where's
Your phone
my
is
phone's
going
over
live
there.
right now. My phone is checking the comments.
Well, no worries. I remember who won in each.
I remember what Panic at the Disco won.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but-
they only won 2 things, but we'll get into that.
The 21 Pilots won, but they barely won the album discography. It was like 51% to 49%. But yeah,
I'm pretty surprised. But anyways, so the I think what it is 21 Pilots has had more of an impact musically more recently, seeing as they started out in like 2012.
yeah,
And Panic at the Disco's career is kind of, they've had like hits scattered across their whole career. As
Yeah.
whereas 21 Pilots, they had like Blurry Face, and that was just fucking like,
skyrocketed.
that was insane.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
But I before we dive deep into it, I mean, what are your thoughts in general about 21 Pilots?
I think 21 Pilots is a great band. They're like
Yeah.
super different. They're cool.
Mhm.
They're like, they came from an underground scene. They're merging 2 genres. They're kind of going into that. I mentioned this before in the last podcast. They're going into like the genre fluid kind of
Mhm.
thing. And I know that the rapping isn't for everybody's cup of tea.
Oh,
but,
for sure.
But
yeah.
it's like, it's cool that they're trying something like that.
yeah.
And yeah, what do you think about Panic at the Disco
Oh man,
as you know, as a whole?
I
As a
even-
whole, meaning Brendan Urie. I mean, I guess they used to have other members, but we'll get into that later too.
I am in such a love-hate relationship with Panic at the Disco.
Why is that?
I grew up with Panic at the Disco, so there's definitely have a special, or he has a special place in my heart right now. But like, I don't know. I just been like not interested in their music lately. You know, I just feel like their earlier stuff was something so special, but now it's like it's just different. I don't
I feel
know.
that. I see where you're
I
coming
have a
from.
hard time getting into it, but like they're a special band to me. They're probably my top 20 favorite bands of all time. Not my top 10, but top 20.
That's pretty low for you, surprisingly. But
Yeah.
so okay, sonically, obviously we can't go album for album like we kind of talked
No,
about.
we
before.
can do it.
Well, the thing is, 21 Pilots doesn't have as many albums as
But I think we
Panic
can still
does.
talk about it because like I think both bands they both changed vastly throughout their
That's true.
From
Okay,
album
let's
to
talk
album.
about this. 21 Pilots initial album.
debut album, the self-titled album. That was honestly, it's probably my least favorite album.
Really?
Yeah, but at the same time, that was like their start. Most of their songs are very piano heavy based,
Mm-hmm.
and like for me personally, that's just something that is not my favorite thing to listen to. And it's also the time before Josh Dunn joined the band.
It's true.
This is
'cause
back when
it was
there
a
were 3
trio.
members. Yeah,
It was a trio.
and there were some great tracks on there. I think my favorite song is probably like Trapdoor or A Car Tortured to Death.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think as time and time, but also sorry, before
Uh-huh.
I think this first album, I think Tyler's vocals aren't the best. I think he's after if you compare album to album, you've seen how much he's progressed and changed as a vocalist. And overall, I'd probably give like their debut album probably like a 3 out of 5 as a score.
That's pretty. I'm surprised. I mean, yeah. I mean, you said it yourself. It wasn't your favorite.
But yeah, I think there's still like a lot of solid tracks on there that help. And honestly, like it's it's actually really nice to listen to after a while. You know, if you're used to listening to like more of the recent stuff because it's just so different.
Yeah.
And then moving on to Regional at Best, their unofficial album, their second album. I think that's a really good album. I wish it was available for streaming if to purchase because there are a lot of unreleased tracks on there like Kitchen Sink and Ruby that I think are really, really cool. And I feel like a lot of people could dig. Dig, what am I saying? But yeah, then moving on, I feel like Vessel, their third album, that is the 21 Pilots sound. Like
I completely agree with you on that one because that's when you start hearing. Well, not only their sound come together, but you start seeing songs start to chart as well.
Yeah, we see like House of Gold, Car Radio, freaking phenomenal track, super deep and emotional. And what was it? They had another big song. Oh, Holding On to You. That's another big track.
I think Holding On to You was something Tyler Joseph said that he had written down. The bridge in that song, he had that written down for a long time. And I guess he didn't use it until then.
Yeah. I feel like that, like, if you want to get into 21 Pilots, you definitely check out Vessel first to see, like, you know, what is the 21 Pilots sound. I definitely use that. And then moving on to Blurryface.
That is like a fucking monstrous, ridiculously big album.
Yeah, it's super big I'm glad 21 Pilots got super big for this, but I feel like they definitely kind of got overexposed from that. But overall, I'm super happy for their success.
Are you saying like as one of those fans like I liked them better when they were underground? Or
no,
like...
I just feel like they kind of got. I feel like Blurryface was the start of the whole toxic fandom.
I agree with you on that one as well. That's when they're like the clique or whatever. Yeah. That's when they started going crazy.
And honestly, like Blurryface is a good solid album. I love my favorite track on there is probably Heavy Dirty Soul or Lane Boy. But I don't know. I feel like that one's kind of flawed. It's definitely a step down from Vessel, but not like significant. Yeah. So like if like Self-Titled was like a 3 out of 5, Vessel's like a 5 out of 5, and then Blurryface is probably like 3.5, maybe 4 out of 5.
Okay.
And then, Regional Best, 4.5 out of 5. But yeah. And then moving on to Trench, that's my favorite album.
Really? Trench is your favorite?
I know Vessel, I said, is like the 21 Pilots sound, but I think Trench was a great way of showing how a band, after coming from Blurryface, really shows how they evolve from that sound and how, like, I feel like this Trench album as a concept album is very cohesive and mature from them.
I would actually, that's funny you say that. I was going to say, I felt like Trench, or no, sorry, not Trench. Oh my God.
Blurryface, Vessel?
No, the one we're just talking about.
Trench.
Right? Trench.
Okay.
Did I just say Trench?
Yeah, you said Trench.
What the heck? Brandon. Anyways, it's funny you said that because I think Trench is their most comfortable seeming album. Because I felt like they were in their breakout albums, they were still trying hard to like stand out. And then I felt like Blurryface was like commercial. It was very commercial.
Yeah.
And then I felt like Trench was like kind of there like, okay, we already proved ourselves. We're just being ourselves fucking around at this point, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just so impressed by Tyler Joseph as a lyricist. I feel like he's very smart and clever with his lyrical writing.
Well, their music, if anything, has always been lyric forward.
Yeah, for sure. They're very thought provoking. It's like, you know, they really make you like think twice about it.
Yeah,
you know,
it's funny because some lyrics will just like go over your head too the first time you hear them, and then you go back and listen to it again. You're like, oh shit, that's what he meant. Yeah.
What's your favorite album from the duo?
Probably Vessel.
Vessel.
Probably Vessel.
It's definitely a toss up between Vessel and Trench, but I feel like Trent just barely edges out Vessel just due to like, seeing how the band progresses.
Just because I really liked, the first song I heard from them was Car Radio. So I think that's why Vessel is my favorite.
Is that your favorite song by 21 Pilots?
No,
or?
my favorite song is probably Guns for Hands. It's
I know I said Trent is my favorite album. I think I had to give it to Ode to Sleep. I think that's my favorite 21 Pilots song. But man, Jumpsuit and Levitate, I think they're definitely a close second. Because I feel like also like Trent, Jumpsuit was like their first real alternative rock song. And yeah, I just love that bass riff. It's just so catchy and super engaging. But yeah, now moving on
to Panic at the Disco. Panic's first album, it was very much in that era of really long song titles that don't fit in your MP3 player.
This ain't a scene.
Yeah, that mall scene where they just like, I don't know why that was a thing. They just like made super long titles. Breakout album. I don't know if you know how they came up, but Panic at the Disco was actually not founded, but it was discovered by Pete Wentz.
Yeah. I think I know Fall Out Boy was like,
So basically how it started was Brandon Urie joined a band as a guitarist, and it was a Blink cover band called Panic. And then from there, they went and made some demo tracks, some of their own tracks, and then someone in the band, I forget who, they kind of pushed it onto Pete Wentz's like online blog, and he read it, and then he's like, "Hey, I'm in LA. I want to meet up with you guys." And it was history from there. He signed them. They never even played a show as Panic before, but
how old? Like they must have been like, were they teenagers at the time?
I think so. Brendan Urie was working at a juice bar.
Because Brendan Urie's like in his early 30s now, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
They had to have been young.
Because I know Haley Williams from Paramore was like a teenager. She was like 16 when Ride.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
If it didn't work out for Brendan Urie, he was gonna be a hairstylist.
Makes sense. It makes so much sense.
His hair is awesome. His hair is crazy good. So from going back to that album, we're looking at like super different, very narrative, very circus theater kind of sound, songs that you listen to and it like plays out a whole thing in your head, like a whole play. That's a good album.
Was it a concept album?
I don't think it. It's hard to say because they brought that look onto tour with them.
Yeah, because I know their music videos were very like circus carnival themed. Yeah, like from what I remember, like from But It's Better If You Do, I Read Sins.
I guess you could call it I guess you could call it a concept album.
Okay,
but it wasn't my favorite album.
And moving on to the next album.
This is
my personal favorite album from Panic at the Disco.
Pretty Odd.
That's
a pretty odd choice.
Honestly, I think Pretty Odd is phenomenal. I think Pretty Odd is just oof.
I don't know. It's like Pretty Odd has really good records.
I don't know. It's like
on it, but
like from my perspective, like going from the pop punk mall scene emo album, If You Can't Sweat Out, that obviously like fits with during the time. And then to move on to like vastly change your sound to like the psychedelic folk rock, I think just so bold and like different. I admire it so much, and the songs are just super good, like very reminiscent of like the whole Beatles. I know people compare it to that, but I think it's really it holds up to this day.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts? Sorry to interrupt, but sorry.
I mean, I don't think I feel as strongly about that album as you do. It wasn't my favorite album, to say the least. It was very, it was too out there for me. I feel like
it's too different.
It was too different. It was like really, I don't even know how to put it. It was like soft. It was too soft. I don't know.
Too soft?
Going from the first album to the second album, it was too much of a shock. It was like taking an ice bath. But there was good songs on Pretty Odd, like Nine. Nine's a great song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's actually like one of my lesser
Downpour.
favorite songs on the album.
Northern Downpour is also a really good song. But all that's pretty much it for me.
I love like That Green Gentleman. I love When the Day Met the Night, Past de Cheval. Yeah.
But moving from there, then you see band members drop, and then you get to Vices and Virtues.
That's
Vi-
when Spencer Smith was still part of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is when it starts to get into the sound that I feel like Brendan Urie really wanted for the band.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they left because of creative differences. So I feel like this is what he's starting to shape into what Brendan wanted, which is more pop rock kind of, that kind of sound.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't as unique as the first two albums.
It was like their steampunk era, right? Where they started like they started dressing up like steampunk.
Yeah. It was So this album, you're looking at Ballad of Mona Lisa, Let's Kill Tonight, Ready to Go.
It's funny. I think my favorite song off that album is the bonus track. What's it called? Stall Me. I think that's my favorite song.
I don't think I've heard that song actually.
Brendan's vocals are really nice on that. It's very I think that song suits the album best with the style that they're going for. I think it's very it's just a really nice song. I think you should check it out like right away when we're done. Tell
Okay,
me.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then you have Sarah Smiles, the only song he's ever publicly released about his now wife, which is super interesting. I like that song. Moving on, you get to Too Weird to Live, Too Ready to Die. This is probably one of my favorite albums from them. One of, if not my favorite album. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs on there. Just
Straight bangers.
bangers, dude.
I think there's also the album where Dallin Weeks from I Don't Know How But They Found Me joined.
Yeah.
He being their bassist.
Yeah. Because you
Yeah.
have This Is Gospel, then Miss Jackson, then Vegas Lights, then Girl That You Love, then Nicotine, then Girls, Girls, Boys. Like they're just good, super good songs. Casual Affair is also a good song. But
I don't know. The album, just for me personally, like this is just my taste, but it's kind of spotty for me.
Yeah.
I think overall, there were more good songs that I liked that I didn't like. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of don't go back to that album in a while, just for me personally. But This Is Gospel is just a straight up banger.
It is a banger. I mean, it's in the regular lineup.
That's probably like one of my top 10 favorite Panic at the Disco songs.
I'm honestly surprised that Casual Affair is in his regular lineup. It's just not one of those songs you think that he would put in there.
Yeah.
Moving from there, you get to Death of a Bachelor, his like comeback album. This is like his solo like debut album.
Was he on a hiatus?
It was like a long break.
Like, what was the year difference?
It was like, well, it was 3 years, but this was like, I don't know what it was, but I think it was like one of those things where it's like, are they coming back? Are they not coming back? It was one of those things.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is their only album that hit #1.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of have the same feelings. I think I do like Death of a Bachelor more than Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die.
This is probably gonna be this would probably be my favorite album. Now that I'm really thinking about it, Death of a Bachelor as an album is so solid all the way through. It's conceptually good, like sound, like sonically good. It's just a good album. And yeah, crazy. Isn't it crazy, right? They're only #1.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know though. I feel like it kind of makes sense because I feel like Vices and Virtues and Too Rare to Live, Too Rare to Die, I feel like they're kind of like dead albums.
What about
like,
their debut album though?
I feel like that was, I don't know, it's just hard because like it's a popular album, but at the same time, there's a lot of competition.
That's
in
true.
that time.
I mean, like we said, we just listed
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 initially from the start.
So
That's true. I guess they couldn't be #1. So
I
hold on. Gotta start the recording again. It just stopped.
we're so good though.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Just resync. Okay.
All right.
Continue.
All right, so yeah, but I think Death of a Bachelor, I'm not too surprised that's their only number one. But at the same time, they deserve more number ones.
Yeah. Then from there, well, do you know why it's called Death of a Bachelor?
Because he's not married.
Well, yeah, he just got married. And that was the whole concept of the album. And then you go from there to Pray for the Wicked, which is his latest album. No,
that's my least favorite album. I think easily my least favorite album from Panic at the Disco.
I feel like lyrically, this is probably one of his weakest albums.
Yeah, it's I don't want to sound rude or like mean or pretentious, but like it just sounds really generic in my opinion.
I think sonically it sounds okay. It's just lyrically, it's such a weak album.
I don't know. It's just like I feel like
One of the Drunks, sonically, very cool song. Lyrically, not there.
Like the songs are very like trumpet and like saxophone based.
Okay, but
there's
I like that though.
jazz. But I just feel like that was a trend at that time.
Was it?
Yeah, from like 2016 to like the last like 3 or 4 years, like trumpets and like what do you call that group of instruments?
Strings or what? Like horns?
Yeah, like the whole horn instruments. Like I feel like that was kind of like trending. Like especially when it comes to like reggaeton songs and stuff like that. Like that was in right now at that time. And that's why I was like kind of frustrated listening to it because like, oh God, I sound so pretentious right now. But I feel like
no, that's the whole point of this. Go for it.
I feel like I could hear that song on the radio. But yeah,
I will say I don't want to listen to High Hopes anymore.
Oh, actually, I don't.
High Hopes for me was like Heathens for 21 Pilots.
Yeah,
dude. I am so sick of that song. Heathens, it just got played so much.
Yeah, I haven't listened to Heathens
Junior,
in like
you can
a
attest
good
for
2
me,
years.
Right? Yep.
Yeah, I think the last time I listened to Heathens was when I actually saw 21 Pilots live, which was like last year. But then, other than that,
speaking of live, stage presence, Brandon.
Wait.
Oh,
Go back to the albums.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, overall, I feel like for those who are watching, this is how I feel like Panic at the Disco's career. They're going up. Fever Can't Sweat Out. It's like here. Start off strong. Then you go a little higher with Pretty Odd. Or actually really high because I love the album. Then you take a little step down. When you go to Vices and Virtues. You take another step down. When you're at Too Weird to Live, Too Weird to Die. You go up a little with The Bachelor. Then you plummet with Pray for the Wicked.
Plummet? I wouldn't say you plummeted.
I think you plummet. Just for me personally. Well, what do you think about the Twin Pots albums? Why don't you do that? Do a little roller coaster.
So we start off with self-titled, right?
Okay.
It's very bottom, rock bottom. Didn't go anywhere.
Totally fair.
Then you get to, what was the second one called again? It was called
Regional at Best.
Yeah,
their unreleased album.
Best, yeah. You go up a little bit from there. It wasn't a lot. It was very, very little. Then you get to Vessel and you go like super high. Mm-hmm. Then you're kind of there.
You're kind of stagnant.
Kind of floating there for a second. Then you get a blurry face and it goes up again.
But like, do you think, is that how you feel with the album? Like it's a better album than Vessel, or is it just because of popularity?
I would say it's a conceptually really, really good album. I don't know.
So it holds up?
It holds up. I wouldn't say it like skyrocketed. It's not like as drastic of a difference from like the first album to Vessel, but it was like it went up a little bit, and then you get to Trench, and it just kind of stays there. It didn't elevate anything. It just kind of stayed there.
So you think right now 21 Pilots are at their peak?
21 Pilots has reached their peak. They've peaked in 2013, 2014.
And then how do you feel about the Panic at the Disco album?
Like, also
do
peaked.
your roller coaster.
Panic at the Disco peaked in like 20. Okay, they peaked twice.
But like, what's your roller coaster?
Okay, so for Panic at the Disco, first album, shooting out of the gates strong, super high. That was a peak for them, right? Then they go down, and then with
it's like
Pretty Odd, they go down with Pretty Odd, and then from there, Vices and Virtues. Yeah, Vices and Virtues. You go up a little bit. It's not like a lot. You go up a little bit, and then you get to Too Weird to Live, Too Weird to Die. I wouldn't say it's a step up. I would say it's like right there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get to Death of a Bachelor, and you go up again. That's another peak for them.
So
And then-
Fever Can't Sweat Out and Death of the Bachelor are on the same level.
I would say A Fever You Can't Sweat Out is a little bit higher than Death of a Bachelor, just because it was it was different from them. It was different. Death of a Bachelor was also really strong conceptually, but then I agree they went down with Pray for the Wicked, but I wouldn't say they plummeted.
So based on that, is Pretty Odd your least favorite album?
Pretty Odd is probably my least favorite album.
Hey,
I will say.
That's totally cool though. It's totally cool. I get it. I get why it could be. It's pretty polarizing.
You know,
If you're a Panic fan, if you're used to like all like the current sound Panic at the Disco, I can get why you don't like Pretty Odd. That's totally fine. All right, now let's go on stage presence.
stage presence.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say Brendan Urie is a phenomenal vocalist.
He is a crazy good vocalist. He's like his range is ridiculous.
It's very powerful.
Nick is leaving. Bye, Nick. Thanks for
Thanks for checking us out, Nick.
But yeah, phenomenal performer, singer. He does justice. He
He really commands the stage.
yeah, he came out the stage. He performed for Billy Joel in front of Billy Joel, singing his own songs, and it was great. Taylor Joseph,
He's not as good as a vocalist as
No.
Brendan Urie. However,
stage presence.
here's my argument for Tyler Joseph's vocal abilities. I think his vocal abilities are more interesting than Brendan Urie's. Brendan Urie is a fantastic, like, powerful vocalist, but I feel like Tyler Joseph, his style of vocals, it's more versatile and more like, it's more interesting. He can step into different genres with his voice. I feel like he has these really beautiful falsettos, and then he can scream. Like Tyler Joseph, like, is a screamer as well.
That's true.
And I feel like also as time has progressed, I said this earlier, but I think Tyler's vocals have really matured, and I feel like his vocal ability has really smoothed out.
That's true. I feel like that's a good way to describe it. Like Brendan Urie is a very good, technically good singer, whereas Tyler Joseph, good singer, but like in the whole texturally and like uniqueness of it. It's like
I think what he does with his voice is more creative.
it's like comparing like Celine Dion, technically great singer, right? Gwen Stefani, super good singer, but
Not quite as good,
just different, like
Yeah.
really different. You know what I mean? So I'm not comparing apples to apples there, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. You've seen Panic live, right? I haven't seen Panic live.
I've seen Panic live. Brendan Urie. Okay, so here's the thing: when you're there, it's the Brendan show, essentially,
Yeah, I don't know how I feel
and
about
that
that.
is where their stage presence gets limited because he can only do so much. It is cool when he does a backflip off of the drums. That is cool. There's still,
Josh does that too. Josh.
okay. Look, we're getting there. Okay, don't cut into my time. But it's cool when he does that. They have cool effects. Like there's like for Pray the Wicked, they had like this pyramid of lasers that he did King of the Clouds on with like a layer of clouds. That was cool. And of course he's just a great performer. But it's a different show as 21 Pilots, as
Well-
you've seen them.
Well, I just want to add on to the Panic at the Disco. Like, are the other band members just there, like the touring members?
Yeah,
Does-
it's essentially Brendan Urie and friends.
Does Brendan Urie even like shout them out or anything?
No, he does.
Oh, okay.
Because people know them by name, like Nicole Rose, the bassist now.
Okay. Cool.
They just replaced the guitarist.
Yeah, I know.
We're getting to that. That's the next category, actually. But they replaced him. I don't know who the new one is, but Nicole Rowe, she's a great fit to the band. Her vocals stand out, and she does good bass lines.
Do they get like special like moments, like solos?
Yeah, they get special moments.
Okay. That's honestly like more than what you can ask for from like touring members
Yeah.
of a concert.
Because I was wondering this. I was wondering if they had anything to do with the album, like when they record. Because Brendan obviously records in his garage. He does most of it himself. But I'm wondering if they have any input.
I don't think so. I don't think they have any creative contributions because we'll get that later in the controversies.
Okay.
But yeah, moving on to Toy Pilots Live. Oh,
You saw them.
we were supposed to see them, but then you wouldn't respond to my text. But it's totally fine. I got to see them though. That's all totally fine. But yeah, I saw them with my dad. It was super fun. Tyler Joseph and Josh Dun have such great chemistry between each other. I just love how like Tyler Joseph is constantly, letting the fans like, hey guys, give it up for Josh Dun on the drums, and each like it doesn't feel like a front man and like the other band member.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a 50-50 duo because like you see Josh Dun jumping in the crowd, you'll see Tyler Joseph jumping on the crowd and like songs like Holding On to You. Josh Dun always gets crazy drum solos. He gets to show off.
Mm-hmm.
Super cool. And they're very interactive with the crowd. Like when I saw them, Tyler Joseph like literally went into the crowd and he would like sing along with them. It was super cool. He was like just walking by them. And then like it's so cool how like they're confident in letting the fans like hold them up. Like Tyler Joseph would stand on the crowd.
Yeah, that is crazy to me because they're so huge as
Yeah.
a band. And when you get to that level, you get some crazy fans in the
Yeah.
crowd. I will say this: their stage presence is ridiculous.
Yeah.
They do. I'm gonna give a shout out to their lighting technician and stage technician are super talented.
They have so much like elaborate props and like
Their live show looks ridiculously good.
it's a completely different experience. Like,
Yeah.
ugh.
I follow this photographer. His name's Adam Elmakias. He's a photographer for all of, like the emo pop punk bands. He shoots for Total Pilots, All Time Low, Piercing Veil, all those bands.
Yeah.
And he's like, they make my job they make it easy for me because their stage looks
Oh, it's so cool.
ridiculously good. And I
Yeah.
agree. And then doing like things like standing on a platform on the crowd with a drum.
Mm-hmm.
What other band does that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Josh Dun drumming in the crowd. When I saw it live, I was like, oh, this is just so good.
There's a
This is
crazy
so
picture.
good.
There's a crazy picture of them from
Yeah.
behind. And it's them on the crowd and holding up their sticks at the end of the solo. And it's just this huge crowd. I'm like, that's crazy.
Oh, yeah. When they close out with trees, it's super cool because they're just banging on the drums.
Yeah.
But yeah. If you haven't seen Toy Pilots live and you're a fan, I know you can't see concerts right now, but whenever they open up, check them out. Like, it's a completely different experience seeing Toy Pilots live versus listening to them in studio.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's I hate to say it, 21 Pilots, dude. The Panic doesn't hold a candle to 21
Yeah.
Pilots' stage presence.
Also in the poll, you guys voted that Toy Pilots
It was a landslide.
Yeah.
It was a murder. But so moving on from there, the next question
The bad stuff.
was controversies. I think
Panic at the Disco beat.
I think Panic at the Disco won.
They won. They want to be more
not
controversial.
The one I wanted them to win it, but I get it. Because I get it. They're not the clique isn't gonna vote their small bean Joseph to like do that.
But then again, I feel like they're controversial because of this skeleton click.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll get into that. I get it. Panic at the Disco has had nothing but controversy since the beginning of their career.
Mm-hmm.
Anything from losing tour members to
Yeah.
pedophilic guitar players to like just dude,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff.
Do you think Brandon Urie is like a big fault for this? Do you think he's like one of the biggest big reasons why there's all these fallouts?
As
I
far
heard
as, like-
I heard a lot of people say that I don't know personally about this, but like people think that Brandon Urie has an egotistical persona.
I could see it. I
Yeah.
could see it. I can't confirm, obviously, but I could see it.
And then
I did see this interview with Nicole Rowe when she auditioned for Panic. Now, obviously, she's in the band still. She probably can't say anything.
yeah,
But she basically talked about the first time meeting Brendan Urie, and she just showed up at the house. She brought her bass, And she didn't even open the case. Like they just hung out, like smoked weed and played Mario Kart or whatever.
I'm sure Brandon Urie's like outside of the whole music. Brandon Urie obviously seems like a very nice and like chill dude to person.
Mm-hmm.
I just like just from what I've heard, like
He has a Twitch too, by the way.
yeah, I know. Didn't
He shouted me out on Twitch.
He
Brandon,
shouted you and
insert
Kaylee.
that clip. Sick.
Okay, all right. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I was reading articles about like why Ryan Ross left, and like
What was the major like thing?
it was the difference musically because Brandon Urie wanted to go for a more polished pop sound, and then Ryan Ross wanted to go for a retro rock. And I feel like that contributes to why, because when you saw Panic at the Disco Live, they only played like one song off. Pretty odd, huh?
Funny you say that. He actually had a little montage of songs from Fever Can't Sweat Out and Pretty Odd.
Oh wow!
He actually had a little like collection of, it was like probably like 5 songs mashed together. It was cool. It was a cool thing. I wasn't expecting it.
Obviously, it's working out for Panic at the Disco. They're hugely successful. But I really would have been interested to see that retro rock direction that they
I just
wanted to
can't
go
see
for.
it because I know Brendan Urie is like, he likes the whole like pop theater sound. Like
Yeah, it's, I can definitely see. It definitely shows.
He wrote a song for the SpongeBob SquarePants musical. If you don't know,
That's so dope.
he wrote "I'm Just a Sponge" or "Just a Sponge," which sounds like a Brendan song. If you look at it, it's like it's got plenty of like belting choruses. It's got key changes. It's got all everything you would expect from Brendan Urie writing a song for a musical, and he was in Kinky Boots as well,
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
yeah, that guy's a theater kid for sure.
He's a theater kid. But yeah, controversies as far as 21 Pilots goes.
Oh, I'm not done with Panic.
Oh, what? Okay.
But yeah, the last thing I want to talk about Panic is the whole Dallin Weeks thing, because Dallin Weeks was an official member at
Right.
one point,
Right.
but then he got demoted back to touring member, so he wasn't allowed to contribute to creatively. I think that's why I said earlier I don't think Nicole or any other members contribute to like the studio sound. And I feel like, because apparently like the Panic at the Disco team, like the crew, apparently they treated Dallin horribly.
Really?
Yeah. And apparently like, I think he's their bodyguard whose name's Zach. Like, Dallin Week's wife called him out for like treating him like crap. And apparently Zach would throw away fan mail dedicated to Dallin. So like, it'll just be all about Brandon Urie.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it sucks, right? And I feel like Brandon Urie demoting Dallin back to touring. There's obviously something going on between there.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I feel like, I don't know. I don't want to call out Brandon Urie for being egotistical or anything, but I feel like there's something that's not right about that whole thing going on. But yeah.
it could be many things. It could be like he's actually like just an egotistical maniac, or he could just be like one of those people that just like knows what he wants, and if you're not on that page and he doesn't want to hear it, then
Get out. You're back to touring. I'm
it's
demoting
like
you.
yeah, I mean that could be it. I mean, look at
Yeah.
like Steve Jobs. A lot of people call him an asshole, but like
But look at him.
he's dead. But
But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just being defensive of Dallin because I just love
because you love him in
I don't know what they found me. Like they're honestly,
and they know of your page.
yeah, yeah. I
See
forgot
you
about
after
that. Yeah, but heck yeah, yeah. Thank you, Dallin.
Hey, if you're listening to the podcast, man, love you.
But yeah, super dope. Love what you do with your music. Happy for you and your success. But yeah,
So
21 Pilots controversy. The Click.
The Click is probably the biggest controversy that they have.
Honestly, honestly though, but all like the whole pop punk emo, like My Chemical Romance probably has a super toxic fandom, Paramore and Panic, but none of them
hold a candle to 21 Pilots' Click. Dude, it's disgusting. I'm sorry. Anyone listening to this that's part of the Click, no. Like, dude,
you guys are way too
calm
much.
down.
Yeah,
chill out.
It's okay for people to not like 21 Pilots. Like, it's totally
Just
fine.
listen to them and like it.
Yeah.
And if they don't like it, that's fine. Let them go listen to their SoundCloud or rap or whatever.
But yeah, and then the Clicks, they suck.
Dude, didn't they
they would bully people.
They would threaten people, like death threat people if they didn't say anything good about 21 Pilots.
And that's kind of like my problem too with 21 Pilots, how like they're aware of the Skeleton Clique. They're very aware of them. And I feel like the fact that they don't call them out on like their behavior.
What can they do?
They just like, hey, like we appreciate the support, but at the same time, don't threaten people.
That's true.
It's like it's pretty simple as that. And then I feel like I don't know if it's because they're worried they would lose their fans. I mean, I would respect 21 Pilots for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to call someone out like that. And then I know there's the whole other controversy with
the more recent controversy.
Yeah, with the whole Black Lives Matter post that
Tyler Joseph could have handled that one a little better.
He it was really stupid. It was a really stupid thing. But
to fill people in, and for those who don't know, people are always ragging on them for not using their platform to support, not to support, but like to be an advocate for Black lives,
or just at least speak up on the topic.
Exactly, like that. And then he posted this picture of him in platform shoes.
Yeah.
And they said people told us to use our platforms.
So here it is.
And so here it is. I'm like,
it's a really, really bad idea to joke about.
That's just PR wise, terrible idea. And obviously everybody knows that Tyler Joseph and Josh Dunn are like good guys, and they donated money to like different causes and all that stuff, but that was not a good
I'm pretty sure though, like people are I think people are kind of it's blown over now. I think there's probably some small
there's different
still
there's different things getting canceled, so they got out of the spotlight.
It's that time where everything's getting canceled.
Eminem's trying to cancel Eminem. Eminem's been canceled like
10 times.
It's not gonna work.
But yeah.
Anyways.
But I feel like Tyler did kind of redeem himself because he did apologize on his Twitch, and then he talked about, the things that he's done for the community, how he's helped inner city kids.
Yeah.
And then but yeah. So that's my take. 21 Pilots is not as controversial as Panic at the Disco.
Well, their career isn't as long, so we'll see how it goes.
That's true too. So far, you guys do.
Well, I mean, they've been going on for like 10 years.
Yeah,
9 years.
Their debut album came out in 2009, so over 10 years.
True. We'll see.
But yeah.
But okay, so moving on from that,
the influence and their impact
on music culture. I feel like 21 Pilots hasn't really had much of an impact on other artists and culture.
I think low-key, I'm going to disagree with you, but keep going with your statement.
I was going to say they had more of an impact on so they didn't have an impact on music artists, but as far as the culture goes, they, like we said, with the Clique, they have flocked like this huge following of fans that like wear their merch, as you can see here. Like they've had a widespread reach. Obviously, they're massively popular.
Mm-hmm.
Panic at the Disco, I feel like it's hard to say with that one as well, because they've reached a huge number of fans, but they themselves were a result of influence as well. Like they were a Blink cover band when they first started, so it's hard to say on that one. Well, what do you think?
All right, so here's my take. I know, so in the poll, 21 Pilots got destroyed, and this Panic at the Disco won on being more influential. But at the same time, I don't know. I think 21 Pilots really brought something different to the game. We're
not talking about that though. We're talking about influence.
Yeah, I feel like Panic at the Disco, their influence I feel like when they started as pop punk, that was at the scene at the time, and I felt like I don't know that like really contributes to a lot of influences when a whole lot of other bands are doing it at the same time. And then I feel like 21 Pilots, I think a lot of the rising stars are kind of going into the whole indie pop, style that 21 Pilots did. So right now I feel like 21 Pilots is currently becoming more influential than Panic at the Disco. Because I feel like Panic at the Disco right now is doing the trend, while 21 Pilots, when Blurryface came out, they set the trend.
But here's the thing. We're talking about influence, right? So how many of those artists, including 21 Pilots, have owned a Panic at the Disco record and was in the regular lineup, thus resulting in influence to their musical style and taste?
But I don't know. I feel like
If it is in your lineup, it will influence you.
But I feel like people who were influenced by Panic at the Disco, they were more influenced by bands like Fall Out Boy and My Chemical Romance. I feel like Panic at the Disco was for sure influential, but it's just like it was hard because I feel like they weren't as big of a giant as My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy. I feel like
I would.
I think with
My Chemical Romance for sure.
Yeah,
My Chemical Romance for sure. Fall Out Boy.
I think.
Hard to say on that one because they've made a lot of very spotty decisions on their
But
part.
I think right now for sure, Panic at the Disco is bigger than Fall Out Boy. Like Fall Out Boy is kind of fallen off the map, but at that time
They fell off the map.
they kind of
Fall
did.
Out Boy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fall Out.
But at the time, I feel like Fall Out Boy was a bigger band than Panic at the Disco, and I feel like they.
Well, I mean, they did discover them, so
I know,
like
like-
it was,
And that influence kind of carried it into Panic, kind of started Panic at the Disco's influence, Like Fall Out Boy's success was a gateway for Panic at the Disco's success.
that is true.
Yeah.
That is true. We're not talking. We already talked about that part of their stage. We're talking about the influence of the Panic.
Yeah, that's the thing.
in
Like
their career.
I feel like Panic at the Disco's influence wouldn't be as big if it wasn't for bands like Fall Out Boy and My Chemical
Here's
Romance.
the question: do you think Tyler Joseph and Josh Dun have listened to a Panic at the Disco record?
Oh yeah, for sure. They're
how
all
do you-
good friends.
Do you think if Panic at the Disco didn't exist at all, you think their music would change a little bit, even in the slightest?
See, I don't know about that because 21 Pilots is a vastly different sound compared to.
Right, it's a different sound, but I'm not saying it doesn't. It can be influenced by.
Because I feel like 21 Pilots are more influenced by like artists like Ben Folds.
It's one of those things. It's like if I went right instead of left today, how different would my life be? If Panic at the Disco didn't exist at all, how different would everything be?
Yeah, I think just like at the time, Panic was a pretty influential band. It's just that like they weren't as influential as the other bands during their time. And right now, 21 Pilots, they are very, very influential right now to all the upcoming artists right now. Like Billie Eilish, I feel like she was very influenced in her lyrical writing by 21
I
Pilots.
don't think so.
I see similarities, like especially sonically, the whole indie pop stuff. It's very like I see a lot of similarities.
So you think that? I mean, I'm saying they might have had an influence on some of the indie pop. No, I wouldn't say they influenced indie pop. I would say they influenced like the new alt kind of.
And
scene.
they're kind of redefining rock. They're making rock more they're making rock more broad. I know.
I don't know, man. Like
I-
I get the point you're trying to make, but like,
Oh, don't start.
but like, it just I don't know. Like it doesn't. They like Panic at the Disco is such a longer career, and they were at the top of their game out of the gate.
But at the same time though, like they might have a longer career, but at the same time they kinda have like flops within
Yeah,
that
but-
career. Well, I feel like 21 Pilots has consistently been a stronger band
but
with their music.
even if they had flops, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out is still exists as an album.
But it's not as big as an album like the Black Parade or like
But we're
From
not
Under the Cork Tree.
We're not like My Chemical Romance is.
I
gonna
think
be
if
the
Fever You
biggest
Can't
influence.
Sweat Out, I feel like you keep going back to that album, just that one album. But like 21 Pilots had Vessel, they had Blurryface, and now they have
Well,
Trench.
yeah, I'm just bringing up that album because that was the earliest album. Obviously, there's other albums. You like Pretty Odd. That's your favorite album.
Yeah, But no bands are making that music.
What?
No bands are like currently making that sound. Like sure, that was like people kind of going to folk route, the folk rock sound in like 2011, 2012, like of Monsters and Men and Lumineers and what's it called, the Mumford and Sons. But like that thing died out so quickly. I'm like,
My argument is that Panic at the Disco has been around and has been a staple in the pop punk emo community. Thus, for everybody that's coming out as an artist today has listened to that band, and that band has influenced them to make music in that genre.
I don't know.
I'm not saying it doesn't have to be in their sound. I'm just saying them listening to their music played a part in them wanting to make music in that genre.
I don't know if they necessarily listen to that album, or maybe it's just I Write Sins, Not Tragedies.
I'm not saying that album, just saying that band. Panic at the Disco is a band.
Yeah,
Even if it was just Sins. People listen to Sins still.
I think that song's so overrated.
That's a whole different thing. But like
You don't think it's overrated?
kind of.
I know it's a stable song, but at the same
Even he
time,
doesn't like it. I don't even think he likes performing it anymore.
like there are a lot better songs on A Fever You Can't Sweat Out than I Write Sins.
Wait, what?
There are better songs on A Fever You Can't Sweat Out than I Write Sins.
There is. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Like lying is the most fun a girl can have.
Yeah, and then,
That's a good one.
but it's better if you do. And
That's a
then,
good one too.
What's one like?
But I get it. They had to have a single.
But
They
yeah,
had to have a single.
I think right now. So yeah, just my take. This is just my argument about this is that 21 Pilots are currently more influential than Panic at the Disco.
I beg
And-
to differ.
Just right now, currently, based on like their status as a band. I feel like Panic at the Disco, they've been around longer. However, I feel like compared to the other bands during their time, they weren't as influential. I feel like that sets them apart.
But we're not talking about that, Brandon.
But I feel like if you want to become influential, you had to stand out. I
No,
feel like
but we're not talking about like, oh, what is happening between 21 Pilots and then like fucking what are the bands out right now?
but don't you think that like to become influential, you kind of have to stand out?
No, but we're talking about influence at them alone. We're talking about like 21 Pilots' influence on the music community versus Panic at the Disco's influence on the music community.
Yeah, I'm just saying how like 21 Pilots has a bigger influence because right now they're inspiring this whole
No, but okay, so
new genre, meaning to alternative. While Panic at the Disco, their idea of influence was not as big because they're at the time they're kind of following the same trend as doing all this pop punk emo
no, but
stuff.
people listen to their music.
Yeah, and people.
Thus making them want
But
to
people-
make music in that genre. It doesn't have to be in the style of Panic. It's just, oh, I love this song, and it's in my regular playlist, so therefore
I feel like that's a weak argument. I feel
that's
like-
the
I feel like that makes-
definition of influence.
But the influence, I feel like influence is trying to show the impact you had on society, like inspiring all these artists to do that, and then
But I'm not talking about musical style influence. I'm
that
talking
is
about,
part of the influence,
I'm talking
though.
about culture. I'm talking about culture as a whole.
Okay, 21 Pilots, their culture, they freaking brought back the whole idea of emo.
Let's think about this. Let's think about this.
Like 21
right?
Pilots are like now considered like the new
Let's
emo,
talk
and like
about let's talk about Green Day, right? Green Day has influenced so many different artists, right?
yeah,
Do they sound like Green Day?
in the sense that like they have a
No.
lot of punk rock songs.
They
Yeah,
do not.
yeah, kind of.
They don't. Not all bands influenced by Green Day sound like Green Day, and that's my point. I'm talking about culturally. They were influenced. They influenced a bunch of artists.
But I'm just saying right now, culturally, 21 Pilots is really influencing a lot of people. And while at the same time, Panic at the Disco, they did influence a lot of people. However, at the time, at the culture that Panic at the Disco garnered, that same culture of people was already influenced by My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy and Paramore.
We're not. But this, you're going back to that whole thing. where
I'm
you're
talking about the culture.
You're talking
the whole
about
culture of the
comparing
emo.
them
That's what we're doing. We're comparing.
No, not comparing 21 Pilots to Panic at the Disco. You're comparing Panic at the Disco to My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy.
Because My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy and Paramore, they all have a huge play and Panic at the Disco's influence.
They also have influence in that scene. Right. That's fine. But I'm just saying, if you're on the fucking dream team with Magic Johnson and shit, like if you're okay, let's say if you're in that era of basketball, right? Mm-hmm. And you say Magic Johnson played a huge impact on basketball players' careers in the future. We're like, no, Michael Jordan was a thing, so that makes him stupid and invalid. It doesn't make sense, right?
I don't get your analogy. I don't follow sports, but
the point is, just because one band is very popular and influential doesn't mean another band can't be important and influential.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like 21 Pilots, I'm just saying right now, 21 Pilots is like their influence is much bigger than the influence that Panic at the Disco had at the time.
Right, but they've only been around for like this long.
That's how much of an impact they had. That's what makes it so impressive.
No, but it's like it's not to say like it doesn't have like I don't know. Okay, so
I feel like you're more focused on the time.
I'm more focused on not focused on the time. I'm talking about people that have listened to that music on a regular basis, and thus forth, that music influenced them to make music.
Okay, all right. I think we're just going back in circles, but
overall, who's the better band?
I think 21 Pilots overall they're a much consistently stronger band. I feel like that's why they're better. If Panic at the Disco was like still took up to the level, I mean they could change their sound, but their level of lyrical writing and like creativity was at the same as Pretty Odd, then I obviously would say Panic at the Disco is better. But I feel like they just
I don't know. I feel like lyrically he can't hold a candle to Tyler Joseph. He can't do that. Mm-hmm. It's just not possible. Because Brendon Urie's a pop writer, and that's it at the end of the day. But conceptually, sonically, all their albums across the board have been very strong. If they've held,
I don't agree. I don't think all their albums have been very strong. I feel like there were some really weak moments in their career.
I feel like there was some weak moments.
And with their current status being their weakest moment.
I wouldn't say it's their weakest moment. Their most current one.
I think it's definitely like right now Panic at the Disco is like more popular than ever, but at the same time their sound is not as good as it used to be. I feel like 21 Pilots, they know how to evolve right now. And I feel like they've been very consistent with the way they've been producing their music. Because they've been changing, like...
We just gotta wait.
Album to album, like...
Because Level of Concern was super different.
Yeah, that's true. They did...
And that was just a single. If they made a whole album like that, would all of the songs been good?
We'll never know. Because I think that was just a single for Quarantine. But yeah, I feel like at each album by Panic at the Disco, the songs follow a similar style, like similar sound. If you go to each 21 Pilots album, song by song, they're pretty different.
I feel like right now,
and I feel like it's so creative.
I feel like us coming to a consensus about what band is better is something that we can't make as an argument right as of this moment. Maybe later on, when these bands have come to an end, not an end or close to an end, you can look back on both of their careers and kind of see how the arc has been. Because 21 Pilots, like I said, is still very fresh. Even though they've been around for so long, they've been around for 9 years or whatever, or 10 years, it's still new. Because they've only had, realistically, 3 albums. 4 albums. 4 albums.
Okay. All right.
But, you know, we'll have to see.
So I had to hold in a burp.
But, yeah, I think that is the consensus we can come to.
I feel like right now, 21 Pilots have been proving themselves to be a very, very capable, a very strong artist and band in the community. As
They are
polarizing
very
as they
strong.
are,
They're very strong as a band. They're very polarizing.
I feel
And
like
it's very different.
I think right now 21 Pilots are beating Panic at the Disco with their music lately.
As of their latest album,
Yeah.
I would probably agree with you. As of if, off of Trench versus Pray for the Wicked, Trench all day.
Yeah.
But culturally, Panic at the Disco.
Okay. So does that conclude our battle? Oh, by the way, you guys voted that 21 Pilots was a better band in general, overall.
That's the click.
So thank you.
That's the click for you.
Okay, so anyways, Q&A time.
Oh shit, that's right. Q&A.
You have the questions?
I don't have the questions. I do have the questions. Give me a second, Brandon.
Yeah, while he's figuring out, just let us know
just
who you guys
shout out
thought
our
of
like
one.
Instagrams and stuff.
But yeah, feel free to check us out at Battle of the Bands Podcast on Instagram. I'm Mr. B Virgo. He's visual poetry forever. Yeah, I talk about music. He does photography. Check us out. We have cool content.
Okay, we got some questions. Let me see. Have either of you seen 21 Pilots or Panic at the Disco live?
We already
We
answered
mentioned
that.
this very briefly. You've seen them how many times?
Once.
Once. I've seen Panic twice. Both times have been great. Both times have been
What albums were they promoting?
it was Death of the Bachelor tour and then Pray for the Wicked tour.
Yeah, I saw them during the Trench tour. Or I guess people say the Bandito tour.
It was crazy. During the for the Death of the Bachelor tour, right?
Mhm.
He had a piano that just goes up, right? And he plays a song on the piano while it goes up. This time, it's nuts. He has a piano that goes up, but then
Flips.
it gets suspended from strings, and it goes around the whole stadium. It's crazy. Next question. Which album is the best if I wanted to get into Panic or 21 Pilots?
So why don't you talk about Panic first? What album would you recommend?
Okay, so if I'm going to recommend the band to someone and say, you got to listen to Panic at the Disco, I would probably say Death of the Bachelor.
I would say Fever Can't Sweat Out about Panic at the Disco. If you were to check out an album,
See, it's so hard because
they changed.
they're both good albums, but they're just very different.
So for 21 Pilots, I have two answers. If you want to find like 21 Pilots sound, Vessel or Regional at best, if you're able to check it out.
I would say Vessel.
I know Vessel's like their official album, but like if you want to see like the underground kind of like more interesting stuff,
It depends who you're talking to, I guess.
yeah. But if you want to see like what's their best album, I would recommend Trench. Like I said earlier,
I still think it's crazy you think Trench is their best album.
I think it showed a lot of maturity in their lyrical writing, and it felt like it was the best concept album that they had.
No, we
It
just
worked the
mentioned this
best.
one too. What do you think about Panic's music in more recent years? Does it still hold up?
Nope.
No, it doesn't. It does not. I'm sorry.
If you want to continue to love Panic at the Disco, just listen to Fever Can't Sweat Out and Pretty Odd, maybe Death of a Bachelor.
We got a question. Says, are the Beatles the original pop punk band? I think that's a serious question.
In a sense, kinda, because they had rebellious lyrics.
Rebellious. They're very different.
You want to
And
hold my
they-
hand? What are you, some slut?
Yeah. I mean, I guess.
And they it was pop music. It was pop rock music. So
Yeah.
I think culturally they're punk
Yeah.
for the time.
They're more like Brit pop or
Just pop rock.
Yeah, pop rock or whatever.
So
So-
in some aspects I can see an argument for them being a pop punk band, but overall, no. If I were to think the original pop punk band, I would say a band like the Descendants or maybe Ramones.
I would say like Ramones and stuff like that. If you're talking about that era of punk,
Mhm.
we got a question that doesn't relate. It says favorite Pink Floyd song.
I don't really like listening to Pink Floyd, honestly.
What?
I don't like listening to Pink Floyd, honestly. I'm not a big fan of them.
Really?
I'm just not a fan of the whole psychedelic rock genre in general.
You don't like psychedelic rock?
No. Like I can't get into bands like Tame Impala or MGMT.
You don't like Tame Impala?
That's why I offered the idea of doing the 1975 versus Tame Impala.
What the
I can argue
fuck?
that.
Oh, dude. Okay, I'm down for that. argument.
I'm down for
Dude.
that battle.
Ah, dude. 1975 versus Tame Impala. I'll take Tame Impala all day.
But yeah, I mean, when that time comes, what's the one that goes, happy comfortably now.
Comfortably Numb.
Yeah.
That's a good one, too.
Yeah. Oh, look at me. I'm such a good music enthusiast. I love music.
But, yeah, man.
Yeah, I do hate Another Brick in the Wall. I think that song is so annoying and repetitive. Well, what's your favorite Pink Floyd song?
I just said money.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a Pink Floyd song. Okay, cool. Money. All right. Any last
Money,
remarks?
Not to be mistaken by the song Money by
Cardi B.
no, by the Drums.
Okay. All right.
You ever heard that song?
No.
Oh, look into it. Anyways, that's it.
Thanks for checking us out on our podcast.
Dude,
Let us know
thanks.
who you think won.
Shout out to our sponsor, Anchor. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Guys, check us out on Instagram, on YouTube, Twitter,
We might start doing Twitch streams.
my house. Don't come to my house. I'm just kidding.
You can come to his house.
Oh my God. But yeah, so yeah, Brandon, you got any last words?
Yeah, just feel free to check us out on all of our platforms that we're using. Feel free to check out our own personal Instagrams.
Oh, let us know in the comments down below who you think won. It's probably you're gonna probably comment Tony Pouts, but that's
Yeah.
okay. I forgive you. I love you.
So hey, 2-0.
Whatever, man. Arctic Monkeys versus Coldplay. That was a stack.
You
battle,
agreed
man.
to it. No, you agreed
Yeah,
to it.
because I like a challenge. But whatever.
Oh.
Anyways,
All
later,
right.
guys.
Thank you guys for checking us out. Bye.
Fucking A.